Panama, ongoing strike against the mining contract with First Quantum puts the Canadian company against the wall. In Qatar, Hamas leadership confirmed to be close to reaching a temporary truce with Israel. BRICS leaders and leaders of invited BRICS members held an extraordinary joint meeting on the situation in the Middle East with particular reference to Gaza. In Panama, hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news, and we do begin now in Panama. Popular and collective struggle affects operability of the Canadian First Quantum Company. Owners of the mining Panama company informed the siege of boats forced the supplies entrance, crucial for the company's operations. The mining company stated that the blockades of the international Punta Rincon port would be influencing the operational needs and even labor safety. Meanwhile, electricity workers warned of the alleged intention of the government to provide the full electricity supply that the Canadian company needs.
We are aware that in the middle of this week, due to the lack of coal for operation, the plant will have to close operations, and the most that they could take from the Panamanian electrical grid to the mining plant is 45 megawatts, according to the current stipulation and the regulation that stipulate this condition. However, we are aware that the mining plant is requesting the Public Services Authority and possibly the National Energy Secretary to lift the operational restriction that the provisions are violated, and the institutional framework is disregarded in order to obtain 300 megawatts needed for its operation. We cannot allow this to happen because it is the foundation of the struggle of the Panamanian people in the streets, in the waters, and in every possible way to demonstrate that the unity of the people is the right to reject an activist activities such as mining that kills, destroys, and pollutes.
In Ecuador, the team of President-elect Daniel Noboa is still incomplete on Tuesday, 2 days before his inauguration for a short term in which he will face challenges in various sectors, mainly security and economy. Among the pending appointments are the Ministers of Labor, Telecommunications, and Economic and Social Inclusion, as well as the presidency of the Board of Directors of the Coordinator of Public Companies and the Directors of the Internal Revenue Service and Customs. Ecuador faces a financial crisis that worries economies, with millionaire debts to multilateral organizations and an ever-increasing public expenditure. Noboa will assume the presidency until May 24, 2025, barely a year and a half to complete the mandate of Guillermo Lasso, who anticipated his departure from office with his decree of gross death applied on May 17, 2023. On Tuesday morning, President of Argentina, Alberto Fernandez, received President-elect Javier MLE at the presidential residence within the framework of the government transition after the victory of the Libertarian Party in last Sunday's ballot. MLE did not speak to the press on his way to the meeting. On Monday, Argentina's President-elect confirmed a wave of privatizations as well as the elimination of the central bank as part of the upcoming measures. At different radio interviews, the leader of the new Argentine far-right confirmed that as from December 10th, date in which he will take on the presidency of the country, he will begin working towards the privatization of the state oil company YPF, the energy company Enarsa, and the public media conglomerate, in addition to the elimination of the central bank. Milei also said that he held a virtual meeting with the International Monetary Fund. The National Institute of Statistics of Uruguay reported that the unemployment rate increased by 8.6% in the country. According to the institute, more than 161,000 people are looking for work without finding it. The highest unemployment rate is located in the interior of the country, where it rose from 8.5 to 8.9%. In Montevideo, it increased by 1/10 of a percentage point to 8.2%, although previous institute reports indicated that in September, the national unemployment rate was 8.3%. On November 20th, Brazil celebrates National Black Consciousness Day. Activists took to the streets in cities across the country to celebrate black roots and demand an end to racism in the country. Our correspondent Bramir shares with us the following material.
Brazil, the social movements and unions took to the streets in dozens of cities for National Black Consciousness Day, which is celebrated every November 20th to remember Zumbi dos Palmares, who was king of a nation created by former enslaved people in Pernambuco in the 1600s, that maintained diplomatic relations with Dutch and Portuguese colonists for over 100 years. The holiday was first created in the 1970s as a positive alternative to Abolition Day.
We are on the streets to say that there is no Brazil without black people. We are the majority of the population and we celebrate our existence, but above all, we say that racism exists in Brazil and it's important that we overcome this by fighting poverty, generating jobs and income for the black population, and work to end the police extermination of black youth.
Brazil recorded the hottest day in its history on Sunday, having reached 44.8 degrees Celsius in Minas Gerais' southeastern state. The National Institute of Meteorology unfolded that the record temperature registered on Sunday in the Aracuai municipality was the highest ever measured in the history of Brazil. In other cities such as Corumba, São Romão, and Porto Murtinho, temperatures reached a year record 43.4 degrees Celsius. According to INMET, the high heat waves are due to both El Niño phenomenon, which has depleted rainfalls in the Amazon, and the warming of the Atlantic Ocean, and undoubtedly to the global climate crisis. 4 people have died and 2 others are missing due to torrential rains that are hitting several regions of Haiti since Saturday. 3 of the deaths were registered in the southern region of the country and the 4th in the southeast. The missing individuals were reported in the department of Grandans, also in the south of Haiti. Authorities reported that most of the victims were trying to cross the swollen rivers. The Civil Protection Department also reported that 420 houses were flooded, as well as several communes and some agricultural areas. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. The head of the Palestinian Hamas organization, Ismail Haniyeh, confirmed on Tuesday that they are close to reaching a temporary truce with Israel. Although the details were not disclosed, Haniyeh assured that they have given an answer to the Qatari mediators. In this sense, Marihana Askolhari, the president of the International Red Cross, reported that she had held a meeting in Qatar with the head of Hamas to advance in humanitarian issues. On the other hand, on Monday, the White House referred to an agreement aimed at guaranteeing the entry of humanitarian aid and the release of some hostages, affirming that they were closer than ever to achieving it. The Zionist army again attacked a school in the Jabalia refugee camp. The attack left dozens dead and injured. Aircraft of the occupying army attacked the Hafsa school in the Al-Fallujah area west of the Jabalia refugee camp. There being a facility protected by the international humanitarian law, hundreds of civilians, mostly women and children, were sheltering from the genocidal Israeli violence. The explosions hit 9 houses in Beit Lahaya. Communication towers in Gaza City and in the north were again targets of the occupier, resulting in a total disruption of communications in those areas. An Israeli bombardment of southern Lebanon has killed 2 journalists, according to Lebanese media, as hostilities grow along Israel's northern border. Lebanese channel Al Mayadin TV said an Israeli attack deliberately targeted its correspondent Farah Omar and cameraman Rabi Mahmari, who were killed, along with a civilian contributor in the southern Lebanese town of Tyre Alfa. Israel's Minister of Communications, Shlomo Karhi, said on October 13 he had begun work to block Al Mayadin's websites and programming and shut down its local offices. The Lebanese Information Minister has asked the army to open an investigation into the attack on Tuesday, Kodor said, adding that this was the 3rd attack against journalists in southern Lebanon since October 13. The latest killings add to at least 50 reporters and media workers who have been killed amid Israel's war in Gaza. according to Press Freedoms Group, the committee to protect journalists. And TeleSUR President Patricia Villegas took to social media X to condemn the murder of Al-Mayadeen journalist after Israeli warplanes attacked the team in Southern Lebanon. Villegas stressed that TeleSUR community stands in solidarity with our colleagues at Al-Mayadeen. She also added that more than 50 journalists and some of their families have been murdered by the Israeli army amid the genocide in Gaza. The news was shared by TeleSUR Special Envoy Alejandro Kirk, who stressed the journalists killed were young, kind, and very professional. Foreign ministers of Arab League nations and Organization of Islamic Cooperation arrived in Russia to debate on the Middle East peace options. Delegations are already in Moscow for their meeting with Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who made statements on the silence of the encounter. According to the agenda commented by Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova, among the issues to be discussed are the urgent ceasefire and pressing Western nations to reject the self-defense qualification with which Israel justifies the massacre of thousands of Palestinians, mostly women and children. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa accused Israel of war crimes and genocide in Gaza as he chaired an extraordinary summit of the BRICS group of nations on Tuesday. Pretoria is hosting a virtual meeting of the BRICS, a group of major emerging economies that include Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, to develop a common response to the Israel-Hamas conflict.
Active punishment of Palestinian civilians through the unlawful use of force by Israel is a war crime. The deliberate denial of medicine, fuel, food, and water to the residents of Gaza is tantamount to genocide. As South Africa, we call for, first, an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire. Second, the opening of humanitarian corridors so that aid and other basic services such as food and medicines can reach.
For his part, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on Tuesday called on all countries during an extraordinary summit of the BRICS group to stop exporting arms to Israel. The Saudi leader reiterated the kingdom's rejection of the Israeli offensive in the Gaza Strip and the forced displacement of Palestinians from the enclave. He also called for the launch of a serious and comprehensive peace process to resolve the Palestinian issue. The prince also called for an immediate end to Israeli military operations in Gaza, citing the need to create humanitarian corridors in the area. Meanwhile, he asserted that his country has been working tirelessly since the beginning of the crisis to protect civilians in the Gaza Strip, and recalled that one measure to resolve the conflict should be the establishment of a Palestinian state with 1967 borders. On Tuesday, medical authorities alongside politicians held a web seminar on the urgent medical crisis in Gaza. Dr. Mats Gilbert from Norway, who used to work at the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza, denounced the ongoing deliberate Israeli attacks against Palestine's health sector.
So we went from the beginning. There were 34 operative hospitals on the 8th of October and 2 non-functioning. Bear in mind they used the term partially functioning hospitals, because the 16 years of siege have made most of the hospitals in Gaza not being at 100% on many functions. But over these 5 weeks, from 34 partially functioning down to 8 partially functioning hospitals for 2.2 million people. And then if you look at the attacks on healthcare in general, this is the second graph, and this shows the red bars are attacks on healthcare in the West Bank. The blue bar are attacks on healthcare in Gaza during these weeks. And Israeli occupation forces have perpetrated 152 attacks on healthcare in Gaza and 158 attacks in West Bank.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the South. On Monday, the United States, the United Auto Workers Union confirmed that 64% of its members voted in favor of the important agreement reached with the three largest automakers in the country. After 6 weeks of strike action, the workers reached what many consider to be a historic agreement with Ford, Stellantis, and General Motors. Although details of the temporary settlement have not been released, it is known that they will receive cumulative hourly wage increases of about 27%, retirement benefits could be increased by as much as 10%, and all union members will receive annual cost of living adjustments based on the rate of inflation. On Monday evening, a small boat crammed with migrants capsized off the southern Italian island of Lampedusa, killing a 2-year-old girl and leaving at least 8 people missing. The Italian Coast Guard and fishermen who were in the area when the boat hit some rocks before capsizing saved 43 other people. Most of those rescued were from Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau, and Mali, and had departed from Sfax in Tunisia. Survivors told rescuers that at least 8 people who were aboard were missing, including 2 children. Meanwhile, a fishing boat with 400 migrants on board disembarked at the commercial port of Lampedusa after being escorted by the local Coast Guard. Russian President Vladimir Putin hosts his Tajik counterpart Emomali Rakhmon for talks at the Moscow Kremlin, with Putin awarding Rakhmon the Order of Merit for the fatherland. During the visit, Rakhmon is expected to hold talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin, according to the Kremlin press service. The two leaders will discuss strategic cooperation between Russia and Tajikistan, as well as regional and global issues. They are expected to sign a number of documents and make statements for the media after completing his visit to Moscow. The Tajik president plans to participate in a collective security treaty organization summit, which is said to be held in the Belarusian capital of Minsk on November 23rd. Putin said earlier that he would take part in the event. Tajikistan, formerly part of the USSR, has retained close ties with Russia following the breakup of the Soviet Union. For the first time since the accident in northern India, rescuers on Tuesday were able to see pictures of the 41 workers trapped for 10 days by the collapse of a tunnel under construction. The images were taken with an endoscopic camera placed through a thin pipe that supplies oxygen, food, and water to the workers. Rescue team vowed to get them out safely. Excavators have been removing earth and debris from the collapsed tunnel since November 12, but rescue efforts have been slow due to falling debris and repeated drill failures. Before setting up the camera, rescue teams communicated with trapped men by radio. In Liberia, a car plowed into a crowd of supporters of politician Joseph Boakai in Monrovia on Monday night, killing at least 2 people and injuring many others, hospital, police, and political sources said. Police did not explain the motive for the incident, but a spokesman for Boakai's Unity Party said they believe it was a deliberate act. According to local police, the driver fled the scene. Boakai's supporters were celebrating outside his party headquarters after Boakai was officially declared the winner of the presidential election. Party spokesman Mohammed Ali said it was hard to believe that the vehicle had suffered mechanical failure or that the brakes had failed. Police officer Melvin Sacco confirmed to death and added that 12 men and 4 women had been taken to the John F. Kennedy Hospital. We have come to the end of this news brief, but before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We are pleased to share our newscasts and contribute to provide an alternative news source of the latest world events. You can find these and many other stories on our website at TeleSURenglish.net, and you can also join us on our social media on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.